This is beatbox music, and he's a professional beatboxer. I like to study subculture. I think the beatbox belongs to a very attractive subculture. Sometimes I also think it's very cool to just show a kind of music with my mouth. Since beatbox is a culture, let's talk about the history of beatbox and how it evolved, because it is beatbox time. To put it simply, beatbox is to imitate the sounds of various instruments through the mouth and organize these sounds into music. You can even create sounds that are not belong to instruments, which give the beatbox a strong creativity, which is also a very attractive point of beatbox. Beatboxing dates back century to the tabla words used in North Indian music that were used in imitate the tabla drums. The tabla drum sounds like
ga in the language of tabla. Tete. There is a vocabulary, there's a grammar. You learn all that. Ke. And then you learn to put it together. Da dati dagina dati dagate nagina tete dagina dati dagina dagate nagina. I learned everything that I know about drumming from my father. He was my guru and my master. My father told me once, go ahead and play with jazz, go ahead and play with rock, do whatever you want to do, but don't forget your roots. Don't forget where you came from, what your identity is, because that's what you bring to the table.
Other forms of vocal percussion have evolved since then, including Afrobeat, spiritual music to the scatting and bass hums in jams and the blue music. The origin of early mainstream old-school beatboxing began in New York, where the breathing hip-hop culture of the 1970s and 80s gave a platform for artists to emulate drum machines or beatbox as a accompaniment to singers and rappers. Since then, beatboxing has become more widespread in mainstream culture, a cappella singing group, and even as a standalone art form. In the past few years, beatboxers such as Alam and Napalm has touched the bounds of these arts even more, using intricate patterns while focusing on speed, technicality, musicality, and bass-heavy sounds to develop a style that is now known as new school beatboxing. From an academic point, cognitive scientists study the relationship between the mind and the body. Many of us believe that the mind and the body are inseparable. What and how a person thinks is embodied physically throughout their body. By analyzing the movement patterns beatboxers use, we can better understand how the human body learns and produces coordinated actions. That information tells us more about other behaviors like speech and dancing, and it all comes together to come over the mystery of our human body. Next, I will answer a question from my friend. What is the difference between a vocal percussion and a beatbox? Historically, Wells Carroll is considered to be a creator of the art of voice percussion. He is known for his ability to make drum kick and sounds realistically, and use them as a main rhythm, a part of point and cappella groups. That later, this art is often associated with imitating drums, and the beatbox can imitate another kind of musical instrument without imitation. From the formal point of view, most of the voice percussion has a thing to perform like a bellow. And most of the beatbox is solo performers. Noise percussion specifically refers to imitating drum kick. However, the focus of the beatbox is the beat, and there's no limit to the limitation. Sounds. Next, I will introduce the bass 3 points that make up the beatbox music. We know that the beatbox is a kind of the music that imitates drums at the beginning. So, like a drum kick, there are 3 basic sounds: kick, snare, and hi-hat. Next, I will demonstrate how to make these 3 sounds. First is the snare, then kick, then finally hi-hat. After learning the basic sound, you can try to combine them. After I learned more sound and the basic sounds, I tried to compose into music pieces. First, there will be an opening to guide the music to the main melody. At this time, the rhythm will not be particularly strong. Don't need to need so much drums. You want it to be a melody. This is where the melody comes into it. So I will give you a demonstrate of opening. So that is my opening. Then there will be a switch stage to transition from the previous melody to the next melody, and that is a build up. For build up, the most common things to do is the kick drum pattern, like then towards the next part of the build up, you can go into snare and something like that. So it is like the leveled up version of the beat. Then comes the drop stage. This part is the climax of the music with a very strong sense of beat. The next stage is transition. The stage is also a transitional stage like switch. The last stage is ending. Generally, this stage does not have a strong sense of rhythm, and it is best to echo some elements of the opening. Next, please enjoy my original beatbox music.